Thank you all for joining me today for a discussion about the use of educational technology with diverse learners. In their Handbook of Research on Educational Communication and Technology text of 2020, Bishop and his co-authors stress the importance of understanding the intersect between instructional design and those with disabilities. It is not only appropriate, reasonable, and right for instructional designers to keep disabled individuals in mind and ensure access for all when they are creating instructional plans, it is also lawful for them to do so. Mandated within the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Rehabilitation Act, and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, educators in the United States are required to use technology consistent with the principles of universal design for learning to support the learning needs of all students, including children with disabilities, holding promise for both those with and without a disability diagnosis. When instructional designers keep these considerations in mind and make alterations to their plan to ensure access by the disabled classroom population, these alterations, such as using technologies and practices to inform and enhance those already in place, can also allow better access to those who are not disabled in some way. In a 2017 Universal Design for Learning video presentation for the Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning at Oakland University, the presenter opines that employing the strategies of Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, can both reduce barriers and increase access for all of the learners in a classroom in many ways by focusing on the engagement, representation, and action and expression principles inherent in this model for learning. While utilizing universal design for learning as a guiding principle when creating instructional designs, it is also crucial that instructional designers also analyze the learner's abilities and disabilities, context, experience, and motivation in order to address the effectiveness of using any technological tool. An essential caveat to the use of utilizing these technologies is that in addition to those without disabilities, these individuals should be taught how to use them early on in their learning journeys and be trained to do so before the tools are required for completion of learning tasks. It is also essential that instructional designers focus on the learner's abilities and not just their disabilities, which includes autistic learners as well. For those disabled learners on the autism spectrum, the use of technological tools can be particularly assistive. As introduced in a National Library of Medicine Center for Biotechnology Information Center article of 2019, learners on the autism spectrum garner enjoyment in learning when they find themselves in an engaging, trusting, and safe instructional space. To present an informed discussion on this topic, however, it is central to first understand autistic spectrum disorder in educational settings. In his Learning Styles in Autism article published on the autism.org website this year, Stephen Edelson offers the position that students generally learn a topic by seeing it, hearing it, or touching or manipulating it, while the majority capture knowledge via a combination of these mediums. The engagement of autistic learners, though, is typically tied to only one of these. When an instructor is utilizing a lecture teaching method, for instance, an autistic individual who is a visual learner may completely disengage from the conversation and become more focused on the world outside the classroom window. In addition, these learners may also be overly sensitive to various stimulus, such as the open window for that visual learner. By making adaptations to their plans, instructors may be able to capture and hold the attention of the visually drawn autistic learner in a more effective way. Recognizing that adaptations to lesson planning can be an answer to engaging their entire class, including those diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, instructors often bring other mediums into their lessons. By example, an instructor may use a video presentation with images interesting to the visual autistic learner in conjunction with their lecture. The auditory autistic learner, who absorbs facts and information by hearing them, may find a loud, noisy environment detrimental to their learning. Additionally, if the autistic learner has difficulty communicating, they may not be able to express themselves or learn when rigid, unadjusted traditional lesson plans are insisted upon, resulting in unmet learning needs. Using technology to enhance learning with autistic individuals can be extremely helpful as instructors are able to provide customized, individualized, and more easily transitioned learning materials. Expounding on the point made in the Oakland University video discussed earlier about universal design for learning tactics being supportive when addressing the needs of disabled learners while using technological approaches, in their text, Bishop and fellow authors suggest that among other specific strategies, the use of iPad with adaptive technology and standalone technology, for instance, with learners on the autism spectrum, both lessens challenging behaviors and increases academic engagement. However, lower level learning strategies should always be taught first before these types of digital tools are introduced. In their 2023 A Systematic Literature Review on the Efficacy of Emerging Computer Technologies in Inclusive Education for Students with Autism Spectrum Disorder article, Ahmed and fellow authors assert that the use of virtual reality, or VR, allows learners on the spectrum to be immersed and engaged in their learning tasks and to help to grow their social and communication skills while also helping them control their emotions. Using augmented reality, or AR, supports their ability to understand and interact with the world around them. And finally, gamified mobile and online applications give them stimulating and personalized opportunities to soak in knowledge. Additionally, in a recent interview, a local parent and homeschool provider stressed the ease of transitioning from one subject or topic of learning for her child when using technology, transition being something she indicated that he struggled greatly with when traditional teaching methods, such as going from writing prose to solving mathematical equations, for instance, had been utilized in the past. While using technology to enhance learning with autistic individuals can be helpful, it is critical that educators also understand that such comes with both benefits and barriers. In their Leveraging Technology to Support Students' Needs article published on Edutopia's website in 2021, authors Botelier and Ludwig report that considering whether technological tools are truly accessible to diverse learners, such as autistic individuals, is central to making appropriate decisions with regard to utilizing a particular technology in lesson planning, further insisting that when websites and web tools are properly designed and coded, people with disabilities can use them. However, currently many sites and tools are developed with accessibility barriers that make them difficult or impossible for some people to use. The differing learning styles of those on the spectrum must also be considered, understanding which technologies are accessible and whether these meet the needs of that autistic learner. Author Deanne explains in his 2024 Best Technology Tools for Autism-Friendly Support article that autistic learners often struggle with sensory sensitivities, which can make it difficult for them to overcome daily living challenges. Understanding the sensory sensitivity tools available to educators to assist these students is crucial to allowing them to connect with subject matter and learn along with their peers. In a recent discussion with local elementary teacher of over 2 decades, Mary Hecox discussed an adjustment her school made for autistic students with fine motor skill difficulties that demonstrates the institution's acting on this awareness. Identifying that there were students having difficulty using a mouse in conjunction with computer to complete learning tasks, the educators lobbied for and were able to gain access to touchscreen laptops, allowing these autistic learners to complete tasks in an alternative way. Bishop and his co-authors discourse on the fact that those who are well-versed and have comfortable instincts when using technological tools find more success when doing so with diverse learners, as they are more effective and produce greater access and participation with all learners in the learning space. The outcome for these learners, of course, being the creation of more independence, subjective well-being, and more equitable access to many aspects of life. In addition, educators and caregivers must ensure that appropriate appropriate technology use for these learners is utilized and maximized, suggest Botelier and Ludwig in their 2021 article while discussing, in the wake of the COVID pandemic, the need for purveyors of knowledge to move from simply sampling technological tools to actually mastering the use of them and impart that knowledge to their pupils. Thank you all for joining me today in discussing diverse learners and how we as educators can assist these individuals in learning in a safe, appropriate, and effective way. Should you have questions, comments, or recommendations for me, please feel welcome to reach out for further discourse.